Week for Integrative Health and Fitness Education. Happy Monday to you all. We're here in, I don't know, week 3 or 4 of lockdown right now, and hopefully you guys are making it through. It's probably like Groundhog Day for a lot of us here, but hopefully you're doing the things that are within your control, taking control of the things that you have control over, your mindset, as well as your actions you take from your mindset, your movement, and your nutrition, so that way you come through this stronger, more resilient, and that leader that your community needs. I'm here joined by my good friend and colleague, Jay Croft of Prime Fit Content. How are you, Jay?
I'm great, Evan. How are you today? Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. Thanks for joining us. We had you back because we had, a lot of people really enjoyed our last session where we discussed some of the things that are working and not working in communication with your community during this time. So could you just reintroduce yourself in case individuals that are watching this weren't on our first call?
Yeah, sure. Happy to. My name's Jay Croft. I live in Atlanta, Georgia, and I'm a writer, a content creator, and I've spent my career, 30 years or so, working in mass communications, mass media. And for the last few years, I've been focused on the fitness industry and providing targeted content to gyms, studios, and trainers so that they can grow their businesses with content that is useful and relevant to their prospects and clients. My focus has been on the over 50 market. Like everyone else, I'm having to make a few little adjustments these days. So I might be broadening my focus to be a little more general, but I really want to focus on that over 50 market because I think it's so important and underserved. And then also, but I can also want to offer some insight into communications plans and strategies that apply to everyone in fitness, not just those going after this market. So my focus might be on over 50, but yours doesn't have to be for this to be relevant right now for what's going on. So yeah, I have a business called Prime Fit Content. My website is primefitcontent.com. That's prime like you're in the prime of your life, fitcontent.com. And I have some useful information there that is available for free, including some resources about the coronavirus crisis. And also I put together a communications kit that you can download for free that has some information that I targeted for you, the fitness owner, and some that I targeted for your clients and prospects, like why they might want to work out online and things like that. So how to manage stress and well-being and things like that, because you've asked about what's working, and so I want to talk about that. And what's working is to communicate a lot. Mm-hmm. And I want to talk about that. I don't want to jump over it too quickly, but that idea of just providing useful, relevant information to engage your clients and prospects cannot be overstated right now. People are hungry for connection. They're hungry for contact. They want to know that you care about them. And they might have some questions. I know that I'm expanding my content scope so that it's not just about going to the gym. Previously, I was providing content for gyms and studio owners and trainers where the underlying theme or message was to the user, basically, you should be going to the gym or to the studio or working out, right?
Exactly.
We can't do that right now. It's not going to do you any good if I write articles about how great it is to go to the gym, because
Correct.
Nobody can go to the gym.
Correct.
So we need to focus a little bit on the wellness and well-being more broadly than just working out. And that's something that's working really well right now. So.
Yeah, I 100% agree. One of the things that we've always tried to do, and again, like anyone, we could be better, and we're getting better at it now, is just staying in constant communication with your community. And that doesn't mean bombard them with things every single day, but it means just giving them usable content. So whether you're talking about things they can easily do at home, things they can do to improve their posture, their balance, their movement, things that they can do from, like you mentioned, a nutrition standpoint, things that are within your scope of practice that you can talk about, like, healthy recipes, things like that. So just do things that serve your community. One thing that we've been doing with our community is the individuals that have come through our certification courses, whether it be the Integrative Movement Specialist certification course or the Integrative Corrective Exercise Instructor certification course, we're actually doing interviews. So Sarah, Janice, and myself, we're doing interviews for our certified professionals for their communities. So they hear the same information that they've been hearing from their fitness professional.
Yeah.
They hear it from the people that created the system that they're being taught. So it gives a little credence and more sort of, what's the best word for it? Should I say, just a bigger presence, like, oh, this is why you're talking about alignment. This is why you're talking about breathing.
Yeah.
This is why you're talking about control. This is why posture is so important. And it allows these individuals to again, communicate in a different level with their clients, and really gives their clients like, wow, this person is really invested in my care, because they're going out to learn from the best people in the industry. And so the thing that you can do is bring your team of experts in and interview them, kind of like I'm doing with you, Jay. You're my content, sort of expert. So I bring you into, like, what can we do from a content communication standpoint to help get a better message out there?
Yeah, that's so important, Evan. I'm glad to hear that you're doing that. We talk a lot about the opportunities that this situation is presenting, and that is an opportunity that I hope people are taking advantage of. To almost be, we don't have to be the ones to always be coming up with something original to say.
Right.
That's important, but we can also be facilitators of communication and content and information and perspectives and even entertainment, frankly.
Yeah,
we're all stuck at home. We're all hungry for content and communications and connection.
Yep.
So whatever we can do to do that is great. Something that surprised me in a really positive way during all of this is I started doing weekly Zoom calls for anyone who wants to show up. So some of my customers are showing up, and some people I know in the industry are showing up, but more than that, people I don't know are showing up.
That's great.
And they're not just showing up to listen to me, thank God, because they're more interesting than I am.
Right.
But they're sharing best practices.
Yes.
They're commiserating a little bit, which is helpful.
Yes.
A little of that is good
Yes.
these days.
It is.
They're sharing best practices. Hey, I tried this, it didn't quite work. Does anyone have an idea? And before you know it, you've got the Brady Bunch thing on your Zoom call, talking back and forth to each other and providing information. So if I can do that for people, then that's a great service to provide. And I would encourage your folks to look for those opportunities as well. Not necessarily with a Zoom call, but with just some way that they can facilitate information.
No, a couple of things that just came up as you were talking about that is right after this, I have an interview with my personal nutritionist, Sherry Belcher. She's the one that I refer my clients and patients to. So I'm interviewing her about nutrition and healthy tips. She's my expert. She's the expert that I refer my patients to. She's going to come on to share with my community about nutrition, because that's the expertise I don't have.
Right.
I can talk about nutrition, but why would I talk about nutrition when I have an expert to do that? So bring your experts in, bring your team in, bring your colleagues in to help share the message. And you don't have to create all that content, like you said, Jay, on your own. You can bring your experts in to share that message as well.
That's right. That's a good point. I'm really glad you brought that up. I keep focusing on the 3 C's, which is I'm not trying to be clever or creative, because that's not particularly clever or creative, but I think it's really important to remember that we need to be talking about, we need to remember communications. Like you said, we can't do it enough. We need to be sharing content. And I draw the distinction between content that is useful and entertaining and engaging and helpful, between that and advertising or promoting your business.
Correct.
Keep advertising if you want to.
Mm-hmm.
You should definitely be marketing your business and telling people what your business is up to. But what I'm talking about here is just content that is useful and engaging and interesting. Yep. Someone who joined me on one of my Zoom calls said he's doing weekly trivia contests.
Oh, cool.
Well, that's not about get a discount. That's not about a 21-day transformation. That's not about his business. It's just a fun way to engage his people. Again, I'm not suggesting you should do that.
Correct.
But I am suggesting that you need to understand the difference between content and advertising. And then the other thing, we talked about this a little bit last time, and I just keep seeing it being more and more important, is this idea of building your community.
Correct.
You know, this is such a great opportunity to connect with your people and help them connect with each other and help connect with others, just like you did when we were all going to your brick and mortar every day, and you really cared about that sense of community and that experience and the feeling that you wanted people to have to associate with your business. You know, you want them to have that with this online too. Whatever you can do to encourage that interaction is really helpful.
Absolutely. So, and sort of piggybacking off what you're saying is, you do and you can charge for your services. However, you should have a big portion of what you do that is education and content driven, and building your community for the future. Because again, there's lots of individuals out there who are thinking about, unfortunately, I get this way too. So I'm not trying to say like, this is not me, but yeah, we get a little concerned about our own businesses because we've all been impacted in the health and fitness industry. We don't have patients or clients coming in. We're worried about paying our mortgages and our business loans, our business loans or our rent on our businesses that are sitting empty right now. So we do have that concern. However, what's turned me off, because we talked about the things that we want to do, and that's communicate and provide content and value and build our community, is what's turned me off is watching some of these health and fitness professionals, people that I know, that all of a sudden now I'm getting email blasts from them every single day. Join my exercise class, and it's like, I never got an email from you ever. And now I'm getting an email blast from you every single day telling me to join your exercise class, and so even though we're saying communicate on a regular basis with your community, don't keep bombarding them with buy now, come into my exercise class, I'll train you at home. As Jay is saying, and as we're sharing with you, make sure that you're giving them great education and content and support and empathy, because again, people are struggling and suffering. People have businesses, restaurants, businesses that may not open again, people that are fearful for their health, maybe they have health. I've talked to a couple of people that actually, a good friend of mine just lost his grandfather. So there's a lot of things that you can do from a community standpoint and reaching out standpoint that doesn't involve selling.
Right.
Even though, yes, it's okay to make money during this time, but again, it shouldn't, all your communication shouldn't be about just selling your services and come work out with me and get a great workout. It should be about providing value.
Right. And that's what, that's what I preach to people, and it's what I'm trying to remember for myself as well. And I'm putting out a lot of content on my Facebook group. Prime Fit Pros is the group. It's free. Anyone can join. There's no solicitation on it. And also to my prospect email list, I try to send them something useful once a week. And I have these Zoom calls where I'm trying to bring people together. And I'm sharing some content for free, because I want people to have it. I want to help. I want to share what I can that might be of value to people. I want everyone to make it through this, and I want to be doing what I can to help.
Right.
But that's one thing. And then the other thing is the stuff that I'm selling.
Right.
I have content that I sell to people, and I'm okay with that. There's no moral qualm about that. I have a skill and a service, and I make it available for a price that I think is fair because it's going to help you grow your business.
Yep.
And I hear some fitness professionals still saying that they feel a little queasy about that. And I think you can provide the free stuff and facilitate communications and be a part of your community, and also have your business and treat it responsibly and market your services to your audience. Absolutely have to do both.
Yes. One of the things we personally did is my wife, Janice, and I, we made a decision that during the first month of lockdown, so we're sort of ending that first month of lockdown, we said, we're not going to sell anything, because we saw everybody putting 50% off, get our deal, buy now and save now. And you still see all these organizations selling their certification courses and everything's 50% off. And one thing we did not do, we literally have sold zero. Now, again, you know, it's kind of foolish on our part on one level because we haven't been making any money during this time, but it was very important to us to continue to support our community because a lot of people had a lot of fear and worry and you know, major concerns around their business, their health, their family, their relationships, and all that. And we didn't want to just be more noise in their ears. So what we've done is we've put out tons of free content.
Yeah.
Now, having said that, we also have a business to run, and we have bills and we have things that we need to take care of from our end. And we feel, and we will continue to put out free content and education like we've always done for ever since we started our company. You know, 15 years ago, we put out free content every single week. We are going to start charging for some of our services now and our offerings. We're putting together some great programs that we're going to offer here this coming weekend and in the next couple of weeks. However, again, we'll still serve and educate our community and still provide a lot of free content. But again, now we're going to start to add some more value by giving them programs that individuals need and charge, you know, again, reasonable fees for them. But again, it's exactly as you said, Jay. It's like, you have to give great content, and you have to give free content, and you also need to not feel bad about charging for your services and being okay if you're giving great value, which I know people that are part of our community and part of your community, they're all about giving great value. So So you're not like the charlatans, you know, creating these, you know, like, you know, hey, I was selling real estate yesterday, but now I'm doing, you know, now I'm a fitness pro, you know, no offense if that's you, but, you know, but it's like you're a professional. You've dedicated your life to this, and you should be paid in, you know, for your expertise. So please take that into heart as well, and keep that in the back of your mind. Don't apologize for that, and just offer people, you know, people that can't afford it, just offer them another alternative right now until they're in a place where they can afford it.
That's right. And you know, you said something that made me think about a point I wanted to raise today. We're a good month into this, maybe even a little bit more. I don't know. Like everyone, I feel like the last month has been a blur. What did I do yesterday? I'm not sure. Is today Tuesday? No, it's Monday. Wait, is it? Yeah, right. It's just all so surreal and Twilight Zone-like. Let's say it's been a month. You know, when it happened, when all this started happening, really getting intense a month or so ago, I think a lot of people just thought, well, this will be for a short time and we'll get back to normal pretty quickly.
Right.
So if we have to lock down for a couple of weeks or a month, okay, you know, we'll all pitch in, we'll all support each other, we'll all be creative, we'll do this, we'll do that. But now we see that, you know, guess what? You know, we're still here, and it looks like we might be here for a while. So what that means is that we're having these phases. Like phase one, I feel like we concluded phase one last week sometime, at least maybe it's just in my head, but I don't know, I'm curious what your thought was too, that was when it kind of occurred to me, okay, that felt like something's over. That first month or so was a thing, you know, that we all went through. And now we're entering the second phase, and who knows when it will end or what it's going to feel like or what it's going to be or mean. But the point is that all of this is changing, and it's going to keep changing until we get to the other side.
Correct.
Whether the other side looks like the past or whether it looks like something completely unknown,
Correct.
of course, who can say? But my point is that we're now in this middle, and the middle's going to keep changing.
Correct.
And so we as business owners and as fitness professionals and as service providers can't just say, okay, I changed once. I did my coronavirus change.
Correct.
Now I'm done. We have to stay nimble. We have to keep on top of this because the story keeps changing.
Correct.
Not because people are lying, but because this thing keeps evolving. You know, it's just a different thing all the time. We don't know what's going to happen today or next week or next month.
Correct.
So we have to keep communicating as everything keeps evolving.
Correct. And around that same topic, you know, and that's huge. You know, you have to stay fluid during this time. You have to evolve with as the news is changing. And sort of to that point as well, one of the things we talked about last time was things you don't want to do. And one of the things you don't want to do around communication is be a fearmonger and start, you know, promoting negativity. Like I'm going to give you, you know, our listeners and viewers a great example of what not to do. I have a friend who's immunocompromised, and she was on lockdown even before this began. And she belongs to the support group with other immunocompromised, lung disease immunocompromised. And there's a very famous doctor. He's got 25,000 followers on his Facebook page. And he's been, she said he gives great information, but she said the other day he started saying negative things about the president, and people got really upset, and a bunch of people left the group. So these are faithful followers that left the group because he wanted to make a political statement. So one of the things you don't want to do is make your site or make your communication political, unless you know that 100% of your people, your followers, your community believe exactly what you believe. Do not make your platform political. Don't politicize. Don't create negativity. Don't create fear. You are a leader. People are looking to you as a responsible leader. You have a responsibility to lead and to be a source of honesty and integrity and humility. Don't use your platform to promote your social sort of message or whatever it is that you're trying to get across, because if you've looked at all our communication over the years, we have there's zero political information in any of our communication. Right. We don't talk about what's going on. We will talk about what's going on in current times, like you and I are talking, but it's not with a bias to oh, I hate the president for saying this or doing this, or I love the president for doing this or saying this, or this politician. It's like, right. Don't use your platform for that. Unless you're a politician, don't use your platform. Otherwise, you're going to turn a lot of people off. And again, to me, a leader is not about, using your platform to tell your opinions. Use your expertise and share that expertise that you have around posture, around movement, nutrition, mindset. What do you say about that, Jay?
Oh yeah, you said it better than I ever could, and I'm glad you brought it up because I've seen an uptick in this since the last time we talked a couple weeks ago. I get friend requests on Facebook frequently, as everyone does. I got one just this morning from someone I didn't know, and we didn't, his information didn't say what he does for a living or if he owns a fitness business, and we didn't have a lot of friends in common. I couldn't tell anything about the guy, except that his feed was full of conspiracy posts. It doesn't really matter if he was sharing conspiracies about someone you like or a network you don't like or what you believe or what you don't believe. I don't want that in my life, and I don't want that in my business's public-facing communications. If I want to talk about my feelings and emotions and thoughts about politics, I'll call my friends. I'm not going to do that with my clients and prospects who do not care what I think about things. They want me to help them with their business. They want me to help them communicate better. Exactly. And that applies whether you like him or hate her or read this or watch that. It's so off-putting. And I think a way to think about it, in addition to everything that you just said, which was so valuable, is stay in your lane. Are people paying you for your political insight?
Right.
Probably not. They know where to go for that. They came to you for a reason. Stick to that reason.
Correct.
Yes, be a person, be a human being, expose your personality and your values and all of that. But you just diminish yourself when you get into all of this. And really, the stakes are too high. We're talking about life and death here. Yeah, so correct. I'm not going to get out there in front and pretend that I know what's best for anybody.
Correct.
Especially I saw it last week when the news in the news for a few days was some in the governments wanted to reopen the economy and some didn't, and is it a federal decision or a state decision and all of this. And then the president put out his 3-point guidelines for when states can get around to reopening.
Sure.
And it had the date of May, I think, forgive me if I'm wrong, but I think it had the date of May 1st in it as something, that if a state has seen the following things happen, then that state may consider doing some things. Right? All very qualified, all very dependent on very complicated things. And some people were cheering on social media, hey, we can open again on May 1st. Yay!
Right.
No,
that's not what it said.
That's not what it said, and you're not helping anything by putting that out there.
Right.
So I'm glad you brought that up. It's a real good point.
So now that we talked about things you don't want to do, there is some rumbles, and again, I don't want to spread rumors. There are some rumbles that there's going to be a 3-phase opening, and again, each state's going to be a little different, and different parts of the country may be different. So it depends on where you are. But let's talk about things because let's just say we're moving towards reopening at some point here in the near future. Whether that near future be a couple of weeks, could be a couple of months, it could be 6 months. But let's just say here in the near future, we're going to have a reopening and reawakening of our economy. And again, it's going to be a new economy. So again, we're going to need to stay fluid. We're not going back to business as usual like it used to be, likely. So what are some things that you would recommend that people do, these fitness pros? What can we do right now to start preparing ourselves for that potential of reopening here in just say a few weeks to a few months?
Yeah, I think that you need to be talking to this gets out of my wheelhouse a little bit of communications, but you need to be talking to your financial people, your lender, your landlord, your creditors. If you're big enough to have an HR department or an accounting team, anything like that, you need to be, managing your money and your resources and your expenditures in anticipation that something is going to change, because it is going to change, of course, and we all hope it's sooner instead of later. So all of that's kind of out of my wheelhouse, but I hope it's what any responsible business owner would do, is to talk to your money and manage money people and manage all that as well as you can, and to stay in touch with your team, your employees, whatever it is that you're doing, they need to know. And I really think that since there's so much we can't anticipate or can't predict, we can anticipate, we can't predict, and we can't control, what we can do is focus on what we can do. We can take care of ourselves and our families. We can communicate with our clients and prospects on a regular basis, and we can remember to not predict or assume, to not get real excited about anything just yet.
Correct.
May 1st showed up in some PowerPoint that came out of somewhere, and some people jumped 3 assumptions about that and didn't help anybody by perpetuating that. So just be a calm, steady presence in all of this, manage your own affairs, and stay in touch with your folks.
Yep, absolutely. And the one thing I would add is the landscape is going to change, especially in the health and fitness industry. I'll stick with the fitness industry right now. Like I'm seeing things like some of these big box gyms that they're going under. I mean, it's going to happen. And unfortunately, a lot of the small personal training studios, my buddy works at a small personal training studio. When I say small, we're small, practice here. We have one full-time, certified integrative movement specialist here. They have, 20 to 30, no, it's probably more than that. They probably have close to 50 personal trainers that work out of this studio down the street. They literally just closed their doors. They're closed. So my buddy's like, I don't know where I'm going to go, even when we do open up. So the reality is the landscape is going to change. So here are some things that you can think about and start to prepare yourself for as we start moving back that direction. Because number one, as we mentioned earlier on, I think you mentioned this, Jay, or maybe you mentioned working with the older adults, and most of our community works with the older adults.
Yeah.
The older adult population isn't necessarily running back to the gyms because, again, they're still going to be at the in risk or at risk category. So they're not running back to gyms, even your gym, if you're semi-private and small studio. However, what you can do is continue to develop your online presence, as we've talked about, the education piece of it, keeping that online training component going on, because there's going to be people that won't be able to come back to your facility even when your facility opens. So make sure you're still looking at that aspect of your business and developing that aspect of your business, because there's going to be a group of individuals that aren't going back to gyms for a long period of time. Like there's people like my friend who's immunocompromised. She may not leave her house until there's a quote unquote cure or vaccination. So we're looking like 12 to 16 to 24 months. So there's people that aren't coming back, but she's working with our full-time integrative movement specialist. So she's doing her weekly training sessions. So there's people that you will still need to serve in the online environment.
Right.
So as you're preparing to go back to working with people one-on-one or in your small groups, keep that in mind, that your online community will still, you can still grow that and nurture that. Don't think that, oh, I'm going to run back to my studio and start training and forget about these people, because there's going to be a group of people, a large group of people that still need an online presence and need a leader like you. So one of the things that I will implore you to do is, yes, get prepared for the future. However, don't forget the people that you're developing and building and nurturing in this online community, because there's still going to be a huge group of individuals, especially that over 50 crowd and then immunocompromised crowd, the at-risk crowd, that needs and wants and will pay you for your expertise in this arena.
Yeah, that's so important. And I'm glad you brought that up. It kind of gets back to what we were saying earlier about all the opportunities in this. So when this happened a month or so ago, you think a lot of people thought, okay, well, I'll just train online. Again, with the short-term expectation, I can do this for a month. I can do this for a couple of months. I can manage this kind of temporary Band-Aid solution. Other people were a little more forward-thinking and thought, I've kind of been thinking about doing this anyway. Maybe now is the time to add this. Either I can add online training in the long term, or maybe I even want to transition to online completely in the long term.
Correct.
Because as an industry, we were headed toward some sort of hybrid online and brick and mortar space anyway. Yes. This really accelerated that. Right. And so if you're thinking, in the bigger picture of rather than just 2020, you're thinking about the last couple of years and maybe the next few years, all of this probably was occurring to you anyway. Yeah. So maybe this goosed you and gave you a bit of a reason to learn how to do it immediately. But I think a long-term online training component of your business is different than, I'll just do it online for a little while. Right. I'm no expert on online training, but I know that there's more to it than just putting a Zoom camera in your living room.
Right.
And so that's something that I might encourage people to do, about, as you asked, what can you do to prepare for the transition to the other side of all of this, is think about that. Do you want online training to be a permanent part of your practice? And if you do, what do you need to do to learn how to do it at that level of sophistication? Are you talking about small groups? Are you talking about online classes? Are you talking about one-on-ones with high-end clients? I don't know. There's a lot to it, and I'm certainly no authority, but this is an opportunity to be thinking about that. Let's say that life goes back to normal on August 15th. I mean, I'm just making that up. I'm not saying it's going to by any means. Well, then think about that. Okay, so fine. On August 15th, what am I doing? Am I just going back to the gym, or am I rethinking myself entirely as an online training specialist, or am I doing something in between? And like you said, for our audience in particular, it's got to be something in between.
Yes.
I'll go back to the gym as soon as it's safe. Not as soon as they say I can, but as soon as I believe it's safe.
Correct.
But a lot of people won't. They just won't. You can't blame them. And so you got to be prepared for that hybrid. Like if it were me, I would move more toward a hybrid. I don't know that I'd want to give up the brick and mortar entirely.
Correct.
But I would realize that some people are not coming back.
Correct. No, I 100% agree. And, we've been doing online training and consultations for quite a few years now. Obviously, we're doing more now than we did before, but we've been doing that for a few years. So we've been prepared for this. And I think by nature of what's happening, this will be a bigger part of what we do going forward. Obviously, as a manual hands-on therapist and chiropractor, it's a little different, and our training approach is very hands-on. So we'll always have a component of, live, in-person sort of care and training. However, that online component, like I said, for my friend who's immunocompromised, it's going to be a long time that she's working with Sarah, our certified integrative movement specialist, before she ever returns to a facility. If she ever does, right? She may decide like, hey, I just like this online training environment. It's for as safe as your environment is, as you can make it. We wipe everything down, we wear masks and all that. I just feel safer being at home and doing my exercise at home, because I can get what I need in home. So I would agree with exactly what you said. start thinking about that hybrid model of, yes, we're going to keep this online component. What does that look like? What am I going to charge for that? What am I going to provide as my services? What is included in that online service? And then what will my in-person service look like as well? Because again, if you were training, let's just say you were training big groups, which I don't think too many in this community do, but just say you were training 20 to 30 people, that's not going to happen anymore. So, how are you going to be able to hybrid your model to, either the one-on-one environment or that small group environment, the semi-private 2 to 3 to 5 individuals? How's that going to look? I know my buddy Robert Linkle, who does train groups. He trains older adults. He trains groups. He showed a picture of his gym the other day. Nobody in it, obviously, but he had his station set up, and he bought additional equipment. He set up the stations up so people could see, like, this is what's going to look like when you come back to my facility. Like, we're going to have 6 stations. Each person's going to be 6 feet apart. We got hand sanitizer at every station. You have your own equipment, so you'll wipe we wiped everything down before you came in. You'll wipe everything down when you leave. So it's going to look a lot different, but there'll be opportunities for, like I said, as these businesses go out, these big gyms go out, and people are looking for. The other thing I read recently, which I thought was a brilliant article, is people are going to look at not only what your offerings, they're going to look at the cleanliness of your facility. They're going to be looking at how far apart am I from the next person? Is there hand sanitizer everywhere? Is the equipment clean? Does it look clean and taken care of, or is it all ratty and discombobulated? So those are the things I want you to think about and encourage you to think about as you start getting back to your facility, whether you have your own facility or you work in somebody else's facility. Your clients are looking at the facility as it's your facility. Even if you don't own it, they're looking at the facility where you're training as your facility. And if it's dirty and grungy and it doesn't look sanitary to them, they're likely not coming back to that facility. So just keep those things in mind as you start thinking about the transition back to the hands-on, to the one-on-one or the small group setting. And then also, like I said, develop your business, as Jason suggested, to probably hybrid into that online and live training.
Yeah, I'm curious if you're seeing things already where people are modifying their offerings for online. For instance, for a lot of people, for this demographic of over 50, they might have one-on-one, or they might have small groups, 2, 4, 6 people. I'm seeing some of them offer 10 or 12 at a class now, because it's such a different setup than doing it in your facility. So that's interesting. That's an opportunity that this might or might not present for you that you didn't have before. Think about that. Yoga and Pilates, for instance, maybe your gym didn't have that before. Maybe you were thinking about doing it. Maybe for you, it works out that that's a really smart thing to be offering now in the short term, maybe even also in the long term. Maybe it's not. Again, I'm not telling you to do this. I'm saying think about these kinds of things that you used to think about, or that you were considering someday maybe doing. Well, now's the time to think about it, because I don't think we're just going to snap our fingers one day and it's going to go back to how it was on February 29th or whatever. This is...
You went from August to February, dude. You're killing me.
No, I meant before all this happened. I don't think
before it happened.
I don't think it's going to be snap our fingers and it's all the way it was. I think
correct.
The smart gym owner, studio owner, trainer is going to be thinking about what might it look like, what might my role in it be. And for me, I'm developing several scenarios in my head and kind of playing them out all the time, and realizing that I don't know what's going to happen, but I can pay attention and I can anticipate, and I can sort of imagine maybe this kind of thing.
Yep.
How might I fit in? How might I be of value or of service? How might I scale my business? That's another thing. I can write all kinds of content, but I've got to scale it somehow, and similarly, you can train all the great training you want to do, but how do you provide it to the right number of people? There's a lot to think about.
It is.
There's so much swirling around us. We just have to kind of have an open mind and pay attention.
Yep, absolutely. So as we conclude our talk, we could talk about this all day long, and
Yeah.
obviously we geek out about this information. I just want to leave with a couple of my take homes from our conversation that were very helpful to me. Number one, regardless of what's happening, when we're reopening, if and when we will reopen at some point, prepare for the future. Just take care of your clients, serve your current clients in your community right now, build your community, add lots of great content, value, education to your content. Keep your message neutral. Don't go, spreading, conspiracy theories and political jargon and using your platform as a soapbox. Stay in your lane, as Jay said. I love that commercial. Stay in your lane, bro. Focus on your community, serving with confidence, integrity, humility, give great content, charge for your services where you need to, and start thinking about the future. What it's going to look like? What is it going to look like when I go back to training hands-on or in person? What will that look like? What will I charge? How will my sessions look? How will my offerings be? And then don't forget about your online community, because that online community is here to stay. I don't think that, regardless of how the economy changes and what happens with facilities, I don't think the online community, training community, is going away. So keep that community. And what does that look like for you as a health and fitness professional going forward?
That's right. And if I may add just one other thing to all of that, which is great advice. I'm talking to a lot of gym owners, studio owners, trainers, people in yoga and Pilates. And the one thing that keeps coming through is sometimes they have to make the extra effort with people in our demographic.
Absolutely.
They have to make a second and third phone call. They have to spend 20 minutes on the phone. They have to make that direct contact with some of our people, maybe more often than they might like. But when they do, it pays off.
Absolutely.
And for everyone, for your business, but also for the client who now can understand how to get your services, but also feels valued and trusted and like you care about them. So takes the extra 10 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever it is, and reach out to them individually, or have people on your staff do it, or, just but do make sure it gets done, because I just find more and more, everyone I talk to says that that's making a big difference individually.
Absolutely. The individual reach outs, whether it be text, Zoom, FaceTime, a phone call, an email, it makes all the difference in the world. I can't tell you how many clients have reached out to me personally and been like, "Oh my God, I'm so glad you reached out to me." I'm like, they're like, "That's why I love working with you, because even in this time when I'm not coming in to see you, you're still reaching out to see how I am." And it's not because, I'm a super special person. It's just because I care about my people. And again, people of our community, you care about your people. So let them know that you care about them, that you're thinking about them, and that you're there to support them. So Jay, I want to thank you so much for being on. As usual, this is great. I've enjoyed our time together. We'll have you back again. Absolutely. Because as we start moving forward, we're going to need to shift these conversations and continue to have these conversations around, how do you continue to build content and communicate and build your community. So until next time, thank you so much, my friend. I appreciate you.
Same to you. Thanks for having me, Evan. Have a great day.
And everybody, again, stay strong, stay resilient, work on the things that you can control, your mindset, your actions, your movement, and your nutrition, and we'll get through this stronger, more resilient, and be the leaders that lead us out of this. Take care, guys. Have a great day.